Tell the truth today?
Yes.
All right. What's your whole name, Isaiah?
Isaiah Joshua Wimbush.
Okay. Who are your parents? Other than Go ahead.
Therian and Recardo.
Right. It's a whole lot easier to remember mom and dad, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. When were you born, Isaiah? Do you know your birthday?
Yes.
What's your birthday?
February 11th, 2006.
All right. How old are you now?
10.
Okay. All right. Well, Isaiah, remember we were going to talk a little bit today about what you call your lump. Tell us what your lump is and when did you first see it?
It's a tumor, and I first saw it when I was 7.
Okay. All right. That's been a long time ago. Do you remember it always being there?
No, not really.
Okay. So when you first saw your lump, was it big or little?
Little.
Did it stay little?
No.
What happened?
It got bigger and changed colors.
Okay. All right. When you first saw it, do you remember how big it was?
No.
Okay. Do you still have your lump, Isaiah?
Yes.
Okay. But you're going to doctors now, and they're helping you with that. Is that true?
Yes.
Well, Isaiah, when you were living with your mom and dad, did they ever take you to the doctor and show the doctor your lump?
Not really.
What did they do for you about your lump? Did they do anything to make it go away or something like that?
No.
Did you talk to your parents about your lump?
Yes.
What about your brothers and sisters? You have lots of brothers and sisters, right?
Yes.
And did you talk about your lump with them? Did they all know it?
Yes.
What did they call it?
A bump.
A bump? Okay. Well, has your bump ever been painful or uncomfortable?
Yes.
Okay. Back when it was smaller, way back then, how did it feel back then?
It felt okay.
All right. Did you ever scratch it?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
It itched.
It itched? Okay. Did you tell your mom and dad when it was itching and ask them to do something about it?
No.
No? Okay. Did it itch a little bit, or did it itch for like a long time, or tell me?
A little?
A little? Okay. Now, a couple of years ago, did some people come to your house and you started meeting a whole lot of new adults?
Yes.
All right. And after you met those new adults, did they take you to the doctor?
No.
Okay. Well, have you seen a doctor about your lump?
Yes.
You've been to the doctor's office?
Yes.
Did you have surgery?
Yes.
Okay. So, do the doctors give you medicine now?
Yes.
Tell me about the medicine. How does it make you feel?
Sick.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. How sick does it make you feel? Just a little bit sick or a lot sick?
It just makes me throw up.
Do you sometimes throw up a lot?
Yes.
Isaiah, have you ever felt like, Have you ever thrown up all day long?
Yes.
What can we do to help you with that? Is there anything that helps when you're throwing up?
Yes.
What helps?
A nausea pill.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you have something that helps when you're throwing up. That's good. Now, Isaiah, you said that you had surgery. You know what I mean by surgery?
Yes.
Yeah. And did you spend some time in the hospital to have your surgery?
Yes.
Who helped you through your surgery?
Aunt Yari.
Okay. And when you came home from the hospital, how did it feel when you woke up that next morning?
I felt clumsy.
Okay. Clumsy. Did your lump hurt after the surgery?
No.
When you tried to move, could you move around and play like you used to before you had your surgery?
No.
You couldn't. Did you miss any school after you had your surgery?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Isaiah, did you worry about having surgery? Were you not sure how you felt about that? Did it not feel good?
No.
Okay. Well, were you able to talk with your aunt about it?
Yes.
Right. Okay. What about now, Isaiah? How is your lump doing right now?
Good.
Is it doing a little better than it was?
Yes.
Okay. What's making it, is it getting bigger or littler like now?
Little.
It's okay. Isaiah, has it sometimes gotten bigger and sometimes gotten little and then big again? Does that happen sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah. Does it change based upon how much medicine you're taking?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are you taking medicine every day now?
Yes.
All right. And do you think it's getting a little better now, or do you think it's getting a little worse? What do you think?
Better.
A little better? Good. How are you feeling now? Are you feeling a little better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did you ever think, or have you ever talked with your doctors about your lump in the future? What's going to happen next with your lump?
No.
Okay, so you don't know. Are you just waiting to find out?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Isaiah. Listen, that's all the questions I've got for you right now. I think your parents might have some questions for you. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayfield. Mr. Wimbush, questions from you, please?
Hey Isaiah, how you doing?
Good.
What grade are you in now?
5th.
5th grade. You enjoying school?
Yes.
All right, a few questions for you. Said the lump started getting bigger. When did you notice it getting bigger, changing colors?
When I was 8.
You were 8, and you help us in terms. The time frame was you were 8 when you were at home, or you were 8 when you were taken with you?
When I was at home.
Thank you. Did your lump bother you outside of the itching?
No.
All right. How big was your bump when you left home?
Big.
How big was your bump? Could you describe it with your hands?
Like this.
Can you lift your hands up a little bit higher so we can see, Isaiah? Lift them up high. All right, thank you.
Going across your abdomen?
Huh?
Is it going across your stomach? Across your stomach?
Yes.
Is it one continuous bump, or was it like little bumps?
1.
Said you get sick a lot. Is it the medicine that's making you sick?
Yes.
And you're taking medication to also prevent you from throwing up, correct?
Yes.
I think that's all I have, Isaiah. Thank you. Love you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Wimbush. Ms. Wimbush, questions?
Hey, handsome.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. So, you say school's good, huh?
Yes.
Yes. How are your brothers?
Good.
Good. Okay. I got a couple questions for you, say Josh. Okay. One, when you were at home, did you throw up?
Yes.
When do you remember throwing up at home?
Mm, 7. When I was 7.
Do you remember being sick at home?
Yes.
And how were you sick?
I just kept on throwing up.
You threw up at home? Okay. Did you throw up in your bed or where'd you throw up?
In the bathroom.
Okay. Did you ever take medicine at home?
No.
No. Do you remember mommy asking you about that bump on your tummy?
No.
Do you remember mommy let me change my question. Do you remember mommy asking you if that bump bothers you?
Yes.
Do you remember mommy asking you if the bump hurt you?
No.
Do you remember when you took a bath that mommy always asked you about, does this bump bother you?
No.
You don't remember? Been a long time. So the bump that you had at home, is it still there?
Yes.
So when you had the surgery, did they remove it?
Yeah, but it grew back.
It grew back. Oh, okay. You said you first saw it when you were 7?
Yes.
Do you remember that at all? Can you tell me about that when you first saw it?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about it.
It was big.
It was big when you first saw it?
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't little and then big?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You said you scratched it a lot? So when you scratched, can you see me okay?
Yes.
Okay, when you scratched, did you just scratch the bump or did you used to just kind of scratch both sides?
I scratched around the bump.
Do you remember scratching like this?
Yes.
And what side was the bump on when you were at home? Was it on both sides or just one side?
Both.
It was on both sides?
Can you answer out loud for me, Isaiah, please?
Yes.
So you had more than one bump when you were at home?
No.
So can you show us how big, if you, on your tummy, not showing us your tummy, but can you show us, I don't know if you can see me, but like using your tummy, how big this was? Was it just over here or just over here? Or was it all the way across?
All the way across.
It was all the way across? Okay.
Can you give me your answer out loud, please, Isaiah?
Okay.
Was it all the
It was-
way across?
Yes.
Gosh. Okay, so you said that it grew back. So when you had the surgery, did they remove the bump all the way across your tummy?
No, one side.
One side. Was it on your left side or your right side?
My left.
You can point to it. Can you point to which side it was on? That side? Okay. And you said they only took off the bump or surgically removed the bump on the left side, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that bump grew back?
Yes.
Okay. And did it get bigger across your tummy again?
No, just one side.
Just one side. Okay. Okay. Do you have any of those bumps anywhere else on your body other than on your tummy?
No.
No? Okay. How have you been feeling otherwise, outside of the bump and the medicine making you sick? Have you been feeling okay?
Yes.
Do you know what asthma is?
No.
No? Okay. Have you ever been told that you have asthma?
No.
No? Okay. I don't have any more questions. It's good to see you. I love you, handsome.
All right, Mr. Mayfield, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Sapella, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, we have concluded the testimony with this witness. If you can turn off the audio and the video feed for me, please.
I will.
Thank you. And give you just a moment. Can you turn the TV off, please? Thank you.
Your Honor, I would ask that Isaiah and Ricardo, having testified, be excused from their subpoena so that they can return home.
All right, any response, Ms. Wimbush? They have testified and you've had an opportunity to cross-examine them. Mr. Mayfield is asking that they be excused.
From his subpoena? Yes.
No, excused from further testimony.
No, I may have further questions.
Okay. We'll take that up at a break then.
Okay.
Mr. Wimbush, do you wish to put anything on the record?
Just in case I have to read right now.
All right, we will take that up during the next break. Mr. Mayfield, are you ready to call your next witness?
Yes.
All right.
State calls investigator Patricia Boone.
Good afternoon.
Will you raise your right hand, please? You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give to the court and the matter now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
What is your name?
Patricia Boone?
Ms. Boone, did you used to be employed by the Department of Family and Children Services?
Yes.
What was your role there?
I was a case manager.
Tell me and tell the jury what you did as a case manager there.
I investigated allegations of child abuse and neglect that were reported to a child abuse hotline.
Okay. In your capacity, did you respond to a residence at 1924 Pierce Way in Beaufort, Georgia, in Gwinnett County, as a result of your professional duties?
Yes.
Is that address located in Gwinnett County?
Yes, it is.
And whose home was that?
Mr. and Mrs. Wimbush.
So the things that your investigation concerned, did they occur in that residence?
Yes.
And did all of those events occur inside Gwinnett County?
Yes.
Will you tell the jury the date and time that you first went to that residence?
I first went on June 16, 2014 at about 5:30 p.m.
Okay, what was the reason for your visit there?
We had received a report at the child abuse hotline that a child was locked in a basement. And so someone went out that night, and then I went back the following day to follow up.
Okay, so you're doing a follow-up visit to someone's previous visit?
Yes,
Okay. And you indicated you got there about 5:30 PM?
yes.
Will you just tell the jury what happened when you first arrived?
When I first arrived, I knocked on the door and Mrs. Wimbush answered, and she said she was expecting someone from the department to follow up.
Okay, all right. What happened next?
She invited me into the home and ushered me into an office that was right by the front door. And then she told me Mr. Wimbush would be right there. And so Mr. Wimbush came, and the three of us sat in the office and talked for about 2 hours.
All right. Did you visit with any of the children that day?
No.
Okay. And what was the topic of the conversation?
We talked about the education of the children, about the medical issues and immunization. We also talked about religious issues.
Did you discuss religious issues as that concerned Ricardo being locked away?
Yes. There was some indication that he was there because of religious beliefs that the family had. And so we went to follow up, just to make sure that we understood what the religious beliefs were, that we weren't violating any, religious beliefs that they may have.
Okay. And what did she, or they, the defendants, was this a three-way conversation between the three of you?
Yes, it was 95% Mrs. Wimbush, and Mr. Wimbush was very quiet, but he was present.
Okay. All right. So will you describe their interaction with Ricardo as it plays in with their religious beliefs, how those two things came together?
Okay, Mrs. Wimbush reported that she followed Jesus for 8 years, and Jesus taught forgiveness. And at some point, she decided that Ricardo did not deserve forgiveness anymore. And so according to her beliefs from the Old Testament, when someone commits a sin, they should be separated and they should have to pay restitution. So he was sent down to the basement to separate from the family as a punishment for his behavior.
Okay. Did she indicate to you how long that he had been in the basement?
She said she wasn't exactly sure. It was maybe about 2 years or 18 months.
Okay. In that conversation, did she describe to you him being in different parts of the basement at different times?
She said he was sleeping in the basement, just sleeping in the basement. That was just his room. And then I think it was August of 2012, he ran away and the police brought him back. And then he was more restricted to the basement. And she wasn't exactly sure, but the child said January of 2013, he took a DVD player and a book down to his room, and when his mom found it, she put the lock in the room that he was in, the basement.
Okay. And what, right now, concerning your conversation with the two of them on that day, did they relate to you that that's why they placed the lock on the room?
Yes, when he stole the DVD player and the book, yes.
Okay. And stole, is that the word that they used?
I'm not exactly sure if they said stole or if they said took. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. But was that in violation of their rules?
Yes.
All right. And as a result of him violating that rule, what was the consequence?
He was locked in the small room in the basement, and he was not allowed to interact with his siblings. He was not allowed to leave the basement, to leave the house. He was just locked in that room.
Okay. Did anything else significant happen on that first visit? Did you pretty much summarize that 2-hour conversation just then? Or is there anything else?
When we talked about education, I asked specifically if the child was receiving any schooling. And Mrs. Wimbush said he was being taught ethics because that was what he needed to learn, and that he wasn't receiving any other kind of math or English or any kind of other schooling while he was there, since he violated the rules.
All right. Anything else about that day?
I had asked specifically about their religious beliefs because we were concerned that we wanted to respect their religious beliefs. And I asked her specifically if she was affiliated with any kind of religious group or religious leader, and she said that the family was not, that their religious beliefs were based on her interpretation of the Old Testament.
Okay. Did you have an occasion to return 2 days later on June 18th?
Yes.
What was the reason for your visit then?
Mr. and Mrs. Wimbush had been served with a subpoena to report to juvenile court the next day. And Mrs. Wimbush was very upset about being served. And so I went by to talk to her about what was going to happen the next day in court.
Did you go there on your own volition? Were you asked to go there?
I talked to her and she asked me to come over, so I went out there and talked to her.
Okay. What happened when you arrived on the 18th?
When I arrived on the 18th, again, Mrs. Wimbush opened the door and welcomed me in, and I went to the same office that we were before. And she
Okay.
took-
Would you identify, please, Mr. and Mrs. Wimbush, the defendants in this case?
They're sitting at that table, Mrs. Wimbush in the green top and Mr. Wimbush in the suit.
Okay, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendants in this case. All right, so go ahead. So Ms. Wimbush, again, welcomed you into the home.
She
What
told
happened?
me Mr. Wimbush was leaving for work in a little bit, but she had me wait until he came down before she spoke with me. So he came down and I talked about what was going to happen and why she received the subpoena. And she agreed to take the child to court, which I went to make sure that was going to happen. And then I asked if I could see him.
Okay, what happened?
Mrs. Wimbush took me downstairs to the basement and she showed me the room, and I could see there was a door and there were holes in the door that looked as if a lock had been removed. Because she had been asked by the previous worker to remove the locks, and she did. And so I went into the room, and she called him out, and he came out, and I spoke with him. And then I observed the room, and I asked him if I could take pictures of him in the room, and he said I could, and so I took pictures.
Okay. How long did you spend with Recardo Wimbush that day?
It wasn't very long, maybe 10 or 15 minutes.
Give me a moment, Your Honor. I'm going to mark some exhibits.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 1.
Okay.
Is this a photograph?
Yes,
And do you recognize this photograph?
yes,
Did you take this photograph?
yes, I did.
What is depicted in State's Exhibit number 1?
It's, the child is in the photograph,
And what's the child's name?
Ricardo Wimbush Jr.,
And at what location was this photograph taken?
right outside his room in the basement of the home.
Let me show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 2. Is this a photograph?
Yes,
What is depicted in the photograph?
I took that picture of the box spring and the mattress that was in the room.
Okay. And this room is being what room?
The room that Ricardo was confined to.
Okay. Let me show you State's Exhibit number 3. Is this a photograph?
Yes.
What is depicted in this photograph?
It's the condition of the room. There's dirt in here on the side of the mattress, and there's water and mouthwash and bread.
Okay. And show you State's Exhibit number 4. Is this a photograph?
Yes.
What's depicted in the photograph?
Also, another picture of Ricardo's room.
Okay. Now, do each of these photographs, exhibits number 1 through 4, fairly and accurately represent the scene as you recall it when you were there on that day?
Yes.
Have they been altered in any way?
No.
Okay, Your Honor, the state will tender State's Exhibit number 1 through 4.
All right, have each of the defendants been shown the exhibits?
Yes, they have, Your Honor.
All right, any objection to exhibits 1 through 4, Mr. Wimbush?
Yes, I object because she took those without permission.
All right, any legal objection to State's Exhibit 1 through 4, Mrs. Wimbush?
No objection.
All right, States 1 through 4 will be admitted over Mr. Wimbush's objection and without any objection from Mrs. Wimbush.
Thank you. All opposed to the jury, Your Honor. State's Exhibit number 1.
All right, and if I might say to the jurors, any exhibits that are admitted by the court as evidence for your consideration, you will have, to some extent, those documents with you during your jury deliberation. So photographs will be allowed to be in the jury room with you.
Okay. Now, if I can approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to give you these 4 exhibits. Let's talk a little bit more in detail about State's Exhibit number 1. Upon what is Ricardo seated in that photograph? Do you recall?
No, I don't.
What sort of room was he in when you took that photograph?
It was outside his room, and there were some exercise equipment outside, sort of like a home gym.
Okay. Behind Ricardo, can you see a door visible in the
Yes.
photograph? What door is that?
That's the door to his room.
All right. When you talked with him, was it in his room, or was he seated where he's seated in the photograph when you talked with him?
Where he's seen in the photograph.
Okay. If you will then look at State's Exhibit number 2 and show that photograph to me and the jury so I can make sure I know which photograph it is. Okay. In this photograph, what is the main white object depicted in the photograph?
The box spring and mattress
And those belong to whom?
to Ricardo.
And what color are the walls of the room?
Blue.
And will you describe the relative cleanliness or lack of cleanliness both of the mattress itself and the floor in the room?
It was really dirty. The floor has, all around the mattress, looks like hair and dirt. The mattress itself is very dirty. There was no sheets or pillow on the mattress. There was a blanket. There was a window that's not shown, but the window was painted over also.
Okay. Are there some objects on the floor?
Yes,
Will you just describe what those objects are, please?
yes. There is a bottle of mouthwash. There is a bottle of water. There's a wrapping that looks like bread was in it.
Okay. Will you describe the floor covering in that room?
It has padding on the floor, like rubber padding.
Okay. Are those in colored squares?
Yes, colored squares, red, green, and blue.
Okay. What is the approximate size of the room in relation to the size of the mattress?
Maybe it was twice, the width of the room maybe twice the size of the twin mattress.
Okay. So the room was about twice as wide as a twin mattress?
Yes.
Okay. And how about the length of a twin mattress? How much beyond the end of the mattress was it before there was a wall?
Maybe 3 feet?
Okay. All right. The next State's Exhibit, please. Okay. Is portion of the window of the room visible in
Yes.
State's Exhibit number 3? Will you
Yes.
describe the condition of the window, please?
The window was painted over with white paint.
All right. And was there anything written on the window?
I don't remember if there was anything written on the window.
Okay. All right. And the next photograph? Okay. And what is depicted in that photograph?
The window, there's a heater in the corner, and the objects on the floor.
Okay. Was there a light fixture in the room?
Yes, there was a light fixture, but there was no bulb.
Were there any lamps in the room?
No,
Were there any books in the room?
no,
Any exercise equipment in the room?
no,
Any medicine in the room?
no,
Any DVD players?
no,
Any form of entertainment whatsoever in the room?
no.
What was Ricardo wearing?
He was wearing shorts that were definitely too short for him, and a long sleeve shirt.
What were the condition of his clothing?
They look worn, and like I said, the shorts were definitely too small for him.
Okay. Were there words written on the wall?
Yes.
What words were written on the wall?
The word pride was written in large letters on the wall, and then there were other smaller words written around each letter.
Okay. Now, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Providing you State's Exhibit number 5 through 11. If you would, please, just take a look at State's Exhibit number 5. Is that a photograph?
Yes.
What is depicted in the photograph?
The letter P and other words written around it.
Okay, and is that, do you recall that as being a fair and accurate representation of the wall on the day that you were there?
Yes.
And the next State's Exhibit number is what?
It's the letter R,
Okay, and what number is that exhibit?
6.
Okay, and what is depicted in that photograph?
The letter R with other words written around it.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of the wall as you saw it that day?
Yes.
And the next State's Exhibit is number what?
7.
And what is depicted there?
The letter I.
Is it a fair and accurate representation as you observe it on the day that you were there?
Yes.
The next,
Number 8 is the letter D.
okay? And do you recall that as being a fair and accurate representation of the scene as you saw it that day?
Yes.
And the next State's Exhibit?
The letter E.
And what exhibit number is that?
9.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of the letter E as you recall it on that day?
Yes.
The next State's Exhibit number is what?
10.
All right, and what's depicted in 10?
The light fixture in the ceiling without the light bulb and the wall.
Is it a fair and accurate representation?
Yes.
And the next State's Exhibit?
11.
All right.
There
Recall that
is.
photograph?
It's a picture, yes.
And what is that photograph?
It's a picture of the window.
Okay, and is it the window located in the room?
Yes.
In the same room as the other photographs?
Yes.
And does it fairly and accurately represent the window as you observed it on that day?
Yes.
Okay. State tenders, please exhibit, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Wimbush, any objection to State's Exhibits 5 through 11? Ms. Wimbush, any legal objection to State's Exhibits 5 through 11?
No objection.
All right, States 5 through 11 are admitted without objection from either defendant.
I'll publish them to the jury.
Thank you.
With a little bit more detail, let's start
Sure.
in order, go through State's Exhibit number 5.
Okay.
You indicated that that was a fair and accurate representation of the letter P and the words around it. Will you inform the jury what the other words were that were connected with the letter P?
Puffed up, pretentious, perfection, presumption, prejudice, and purity.
Okay. And State's Exhibit number 6?
Letter R, ruin, relentless, ridicule, rotten, rude, rebel, and rebellion.
Okay. The next State's Exhibit is?
I, number 7.
Okay.
It says ignorance, inconsiderate, insolence, indulgence.
State's 8?
Darkness, defiant, devious, disobedient, dishonest, destruction, death, disdain, disrespect,
Next.
envy, exaltation, egoism, evil, exile.
And the next state's exhibit is what?
It's of the light fixture,
Okay, and what exhibit number is that?
10.
10, okay. And is that as it was the day that you were there?
Yes.
Okay, and state's exhibit number 11, finally, what is that?
The window that's painting over and the word humble on the window.
Okay. Thought about your approach, Ron?
Yes.
Let me show you what's been marked as state's exhibit number 12. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
What is depicted in the photograph?
It's a animal cracker bottle,
Where was it located?
plastic bottle. It was in the, I think it was in the corner of the room.
Okay. Did you notice anything unusual about that bottle?
Yes.
Can you describe it, please?
It looks like it has urine in the bottle. The bottle is dirty.
State tenders, state's exhibit number 12.
12.
Mr. Wimbush, any legal objection to states 12? Ms. Wimbush?
I object only on the grounds that Ms. Boone cannot authenticate, has not authenticated, or the state has not authenticated this picture with Ms. Boone. Ms. Boone gave no testimony that she saw any jar in the corner, nor did she take any personal pictures of this animal cracker jar.
All right, based on the witness's testimony that she recognizes what is contained in the photo and that she did witness it, I will admit State's Exhibit 12 over Mrs. Wimbush's objection and without objection from Mr. Wimbush.
Does that photograph fairly and accurately depict the plastic jar as you saw it in that room?
Yes.
State will publish it to the jury.
Yes, sir.
Other than what you have described as being in these photographs, State Exhibit number 1 through 12, was there anything else in the room other than what is contained in those photographs?
No.
Was there anything, any other piece of art on a wall, any drawings? Was there any paper, pen, pencil, or crayon?
No.
Did you have the opportunity to spend time in the remainder of the house as well?
Only the first level, yes.
The what now?
The first level, whom I did not go
You
upstairs.
did not go upstairs, but did you walk through the first level of the house?
The first level, yes.
Did you see all the rooms there?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Have you looked at some photographs of the downstairs?
Yes.
And do they fairly and accurately depict what you observed there?
Yes.
And have you also seen some additional photographs of the basement itself?
Yes.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the scene there?
Yes.
And photographs of the door, did you see those?
Yes.
Okay. Did you personally take these photographs?
No, I did not.
Do they fairly and accurately represent what you saw?
Yes.
Been any alterations that you're aware of?
No.
Now, the state will tender State's Exhibit number 13 through 25, which are the photographs previously described by the witness, and also after a conversation with defendants, indicated that some of the photographs were upstairs, but indicated to me they would have no objection to the admission of these photographs into evidence.
All right, so as I understand it, Mr. Wimbush, first to you, you have no objection to the admission of State's Exhibits 13 through 25, is that correct? No objection. Ms. Wimbush, do you likewise have no objection to State's Exhibits 13 through 25? No objection. All right, they are all admitted without objection from either defendant.
I'll publish them to the jury at a later time, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you.
In these photographs, 13 through 25, let me just, so that you can testify. Are these photographs of the interior of the defendant's home?
Yes.
And what is the prominent nature of the items that are in that home?
Well, the house appeared to be in disarray, but there are books and there are a lot of arts and crafts and games and toys.
Okay. All right. Go on through until you get to photographs taken of the basement. What State's Exhibit number is that?
23.
Okay. So those next three photographs, 23, 24, and 25, do you recognize that?
Yes,
What do you recognize it to be?
the basement of the home.
All right. Is a fair and accurate representation?
Yes.
Okay. What's visible in the background of that photograph?
The door to Ricardo's room.
All right. And the next exhibit number is what?
Also the door, close-up of the door of his room.
Okay. And the next photograph is what?
Also the door to his room.
What is the distinguishing feature, if anything, on those photographs of the door?
The holes that indicated there was a lock or chain or something on that door.
Okay. All right. So how long were you there on that particular day?
Maybe 30 to 45 minutes.
All right. Tell us about the conversation that you had with Ricardo Wimbush in the basement.
I met with him. He was very soft-spoken, very flat affect. I talked to him about why he was in the basement. And he told me that he had taken a DVD player and a book downstairs, and when his parents found the items, they placed a lock on the door, and he was not allowed to leave the basement area.
Did he tell you what his living location and situation was prior to the lock being applied?
He said he was living in the basement, but there was no lock on the door, so he was able to go upstairs at night when the family was asleep.
Okay. Before the lock was applied, was he allowed to go upstairs and share time with his siblings and his parents?
I guess it was a progression. Initially, when he went down, he was allowed to come up and spend time with the family. But after he ran away and the police brought him back, then he was confined to the basement, but not the room specifically. There was no lock on that room. And after he took the DVD player and the book, then the lock was placed on the door. And so I guess from August, he was not allowed to interact with his siblings. He only saw his parents.
Okay. August of what year?
2012.
All right. Did he tell you why he was in that room in the basement? Other than what, did he give you a generalized answer rather than a specific answer?
He said that he was disobedient and that he deserved to be down there, and he was really hoping that he would be able to reintegrate into his family in October of that year, which was about 4 months later, because the family was having a Hebrew feast in October. And his mom told him that if he was really good, maybe he would be able to rejoin the family in October. And he was very hopeful because he wanted to see his siblings.
Okay. And you had this conversation with him in June of 2014, correct?
Yes.
Now, what did he indicate he had to do to earn his way out 4 months later?
He didn't give any specifics. He just said he had to be good.
Did he tell you that since he had been in that room that he had been bad?
No.
Did you ever have a conversation about him, whether or not he had seen a dentist during that time?
No, I didn't ask him specifically about that.
All right. You indicated that he had a very flat affect. Can you elaborate on your interpretation of his demeanor and what he looked like and how he spoke?
Yes, he looked very unkempt. His hair, as the picture shows, was just really long, looked like it hadn't been washed or combed in a very long time. His nails were long and jagged, looked like they hadn't been cut. His skin was very dry. He spoke very softly and had no expression really on his face when he spoke. He didn't seem upset. He didn't seem happy. He just didn't show any emotions when he spoke.
Okay. If you asked him a question, were his answers short or did he elaborate?
He elaborated, I think, with some of the questions.
Okay. On June 19th, did y'all go to court that day?
Yes.
When you arrived at court, where was Mr. and Mrs. Wimbush and where were the children?
It was just Recardo at court with his parents, and they were sitting in the hallway.
All right. Did you speak to him?
Yes.
Okay. Did you interview him on that day?
No, I did not.
Was he moved to another room where he was interviewed?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, do you know who interviewed him in that other room?
I think it was the guardian ad litem, Leanne Chansey.
All right. Sometime after that, did you have an occasion to spend time with Recardo, taking him other places?
On that day, I was with him from about 12:30 that afternoon until about maybe 10 o'clock that evening when I took him to his placement.
Okay. And when you were driving him, did y'all stop and eat?
Yes.
Will you tell us about that?
I asked him where he wanted to go. I told him I would buy him dinner, because first I asked him if he was hungry. He said he was hungry. And I asked him where he wanted to go. He said he wanted to go to Burger King. And so I took him to Burger King and I asked him what he wanted, and he said he wanted a Whopper. So I got him the Whopper meal, and we went through the drive-thru, and I was driving him to his placement. And he ate that he ate every crumb of that meal, and he wouldn't speak while he was just eating. You know, he seemed just really excited to have that meal, and he ate every crumb of that meal.
Okay. On the 19th, for the hearing, was his physical appearance any different than it was when you saw him in the basement the day before?
Significantly different, yes.
Will you describe that to the jury?
He had a haircut, so his hair was very short. He looked groomed. He told me he had bathed that day. He had told me he hadn't bathed since he had been down in that basement. He thought maybe 18 months since he had bathed. So he was excited. He had a bath that day. I'm not sure it was a shower bath, but he had bathed the day of court, and he had a haircut. He said his mom had cut his hair. He was wearing basketball shorts that seemed way too small. I mean, they were like way up on his thigh, and he had on a T-shirt that also seemed too small.
Okay. Did you observe him walk into a building and walk up some steps?
Yes.
Describe to the jury what you observed.
After the hearing, I took him to the Gwinnett Police Department, the police station there, for an interview. And when we got in front of the building, there were 5 concrete steps that went up into the building. And he stopped, and he looked at the steps, and he really paused and thought for a little while, and then he held on to the rail and really made an effort to negotiate how to climb those 5 steps up into the building.
Did he complain of any pain or discomfort?
In his legs, yes.
When he was walking, did he walk normally?
He walked with a limp. I'm not sure why, but he did.
Okay. Did you spend then about 3 months before you saw him again?
Yes.
And on the occasion of being in his presence again, describe to the jury what happened.
I was no longer involved in his case, but I was placing another child where he was, and the staff nurse said, you know, Ricardo's here. And they pointed him out to me, and I did not recognize him. He looked like a completely different person. You know, he had gained weight. He didn't seem as frail as he did when I saw him 3 months prior. His complexion was different. His demeanor was different. I just didn't recognize him.
Tell us about his new demeanor.
He was still quiet, but he interacted with the other kids. He seemed more like a regular kid than he did when I saw him down in that basement.
Okay. Tell us about if there was any different way that he interacted with you and other people.
Yes, I mean, he smiled when he saw me. I had never seen him smile before. He wasn't chatty or anything. He was still quiet, but he just seemed happy. He seemed pleasant.
Okay. All right. In those first few days, did you also have an opportunity to spend some time with Isaiah?
Yes,
Did you go to a doctor's office with him?
I did.
Did you take a photograph of him at the doctor's office?
I took a photograph at him at my office.
At your office?
Yes.
Okay. How long after that day that you removed him from the home was it that you took this particular photograph? Let me show you State's Exhibit number 26. Do you know how long a time it was?
It was the next day.
What is that exhibit number, Mr. Mayfield?
It's exhibit number 26, maybe it should be 27.
26 would be my next number.
26 is next, okay.
Thank you.
All right, let me show you what's, approach the witness.
Yes.
Show you State's Exhibit number 26. Is that a photograph?
Yes,
You recognize it?
yes.
And it is a photograph of what or whom?
It's a photograph of Isaiah's abdomen.
Will you be able to tell me what day that photograph was taken?
It was June 20th, 2014.
Okay. And what is depicted in the photograph?
It's a large lump, and it's discolored and kind of had bumps on it, and on the side of it, there's a scar, and it seems like it's keloid on the side of the abdomen.
Okay. Does it fairly and accurately represent the way that he appeared to you on that day?
Yes.
State tender, State's Exhibit number 26.
Any legal objection to States 26, Mr. Wimbush? Ms. Wimbush? All right, 26 is admitted without objection from either defendant.
Publish it to the jury. Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
After this discovery, was there medical treatment sought for Isaiah?
Yes.
Did you have any conversations with Isaiah regarding his medical treatment? Did you personally have any conversations with him about his medical treatment before June of 2012?
No.
Okay. All right. That's all I have at this time, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, just show me by hands. I'd like to go forward and conclude questioning of this witness before we take a break. Is everybody okay with that? Everybody's good? All right. Mr. Wimbush, the witness is with you for cross-examination.
Ms. Boone, how you doing?
Good afternoon.
Just a few quick questions. When you came on June the 16th,
Yes.
okay, you sat and talked with the defendants for a couple hours?
Yes.
All right, could you go over again what type of things y'all talked about?
We talked about the family's religion, religious beliefs. We talked about education of the children. We talked about immunization and medical issues. We talked about why Ricardo was in the basement.
Okay, you say you talked about immunizations. What exactly did you talk about as far as immunizations?
Just that the children hadn't had any immunization. I think that it came into the conversation when Mrs. Wimbush said that Ricardo had had his MMR when he was 4 years old, and at that point, there was a change in his behavior. He became disobedient and he started to lie.
Okay, so some of the children did have immunizations.
Right.
Okay. Did. Okay, also, how much of the house did you actually see that day? Over the 2 days you were there?
On the first day I didn't see, I just went into that office.
Okay.
On Wednesday, I saw the first floor and I went down into the basement and saw the basement.
Okay, so you saw the entire first floor?
Mrs. Wimbush showed me around and, she showed me pictures on the wall and I saw the children. I'm not sure if I saw every inch of the first floor, but I saw the general area.
Okay, so you saw the family pictures that are posted?
I saw
all throughout
all the
house?
children at the tables doing arts and crafts and the kitchen area, and I'm not sure if I saw all of it.
Okay, I think in the juvenile case, you mentioned the door to the basement had a lock on it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, what did that lock look like?
When I reviewed the pictures, I think it was like a doorknob. There's a lock on the doorknob.
A lock on the doorknob?
Yeah.
Okay, because in previous testimony, you stated it was a
Right.
sliding lock.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you say you stopped at McDonald's after,
Burger King.
and Burger King, I'm
Yes.
sorry, after the juvenile case and the dependence case. What time was that court hearing scheduled for?
On the 19th?
Yes,
For 12:30.
12:30. So what time did the defendant show up with Ricardo?
You were there when I got there.
Okay, so 12:30 or before, we were already
Yes.
there. Okay, and what time did it conclude that day?
I don't remember. I know it went after 5, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I have to report to work at 6, and I
Yeah.
didn't make it at
Right.
6, so.
All right, and let me just caution you, Mr. Wimbush, you can ask the witness questions, but you cannot provide testimony yourself.
Okay,
on
I'm
the
just making a
witness stand.
statement, that's all.
That's testimony, sir.
So is it possible he hadn't eaten all day? Did he eat when he was there?
He ate when he was there.
What did he eat when he was there?
I'm not sure, but we have staff, volunteers in that room that get food for the children.
So you're
provide
not
them.
actually sure if he ate or not?
I'm sure that they had
Speculating.
brought him food.
You're speculating,
Well, I was there with him, so I know they,
but you didn't see him directly.
Right.
That's what I'm asking.
But you have to ask a question and allow the witness to answer before you challenge the answer.
Okay.
So the court reporter can't take down
Okay,
two people speaking at the same time.
So again, did you see him with your own 2 eyes eating something?
I don't remember specifically because I was in and out of there, but like I said, normally we provide the children with food.
Understand.
Yes.
Okay, so it's possible he was starving. It's been over 5 hours. It was after 5, you gave him that testimony already, so it's probably he was starving.
Yeah,
when he,
it's possible.
okay, and I think that's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.